Hello everyone and welcome once again to another commentary video. This time we're gonna cover this match on Crossfire, which is the third version of this map that has been already in leak in other version of the same map. I don't know the difference and I don't recall them, but the main idea of the map is the same. It's a big open area in the middle with landers sitting on it and sitting on the HQs, and basically heavy forest for the rest of the map. And as you can see, there is a lot of unused area. I have cut the map a little bit, as you can see, because it's very big and it was looking very tiny on the screen. And as you will see, the com towers are here, but farther up and to the sizes there is nothing, so you don't need to worry about it, guys. And let's talk first about the players. Is Lens, which is the question mark player against Quacker Duck 6. Both players are quite strong. I am facing Quacker Duck 6 on this same map, but instead of tier 3, tier 1. And I have this replayer, this match saved for future recording since a few days ago. And I thought, I got match against this guy on this map. I'm gonna review the match and I'm gonna learn about his playstyle, and I'm also gonna provide a nice video because I think this is a nice matchup, this is a decent map, and I have not covered this map yet, so it's win-win-win situation for everyone. And let's also talk about the matchup. The matchup is Andy against Drake. On paper, Andy will have a slight advantage and a slight edge, in the sense that Andy doesn't care about global damage. The problem is that Andy has a shorter power charge, and he naturally will get his power first, and that means that he will need to hold his power unless he really has a really nice push. But if he pops first his superpower, he will have to sit with general damage on his units until the next power comes into place. And that's quite bad because Andy is not used to having generally weak units, because he's already a CO with no day-to-day, and if you have general weak units, you are a below average CO in that sense, and that's not very good, because being average is already bad for Advanced Wars. So imagine what is being below average. It's very bad, because normally if you are facing a global CO, for example Olaf against Max, you are a strong CO that can compensate somewhat the damage units with your movement and your huge firepower bonuses. I want to talk about the map a little bit before going straight to the replay. This map is it might seem intimidating in the sense that it's very big, but actually the real fight is only happening in 3 very small areas, which is this area right here, which is the strong side for the black player Andy, the middle, which is quite open but is split in half by these 2 mountains and these 2 HQs with a lander on it, and then the other mirror area, which is the Drake green player strong area. The plan for this map is you want to control the middle. I had a sparring yesterday against someone similar to my rating, and after that match I asked Raizo to give me his thoughts about my capture phase, my movements, and the map in general. He agreed with me that artillery is very strong on this map, and also that you can use T-copters effectively here, and you want to control the middle. You want to control the middle and then commit to either of the sizes that are not as controlled by your opponent, or maybe you want to crush your opponent's army. imagine that you have a recon here, you are controlling the middle, and you spot a couple of tanks here. And that will mean that your opponent has 2 less tanks on his strong area. And if you have all your army here, charging into that army, that means that you will have the advantage, giving, assuming that both players had optimal or similar capture phase, and neither of them had too many losses compared to the other. Also, controlling the middle is very useful because you are unpredictable. You can do whatever you want if you control the middle. Yes, I know that in the middle there is only 2 contested properties, and in the sizes there is 3, but once you have controlled the middle, you can choose to go to either of the sizes and then get control of the properties. And even if you are committing to the middle, that doesn't mean that your opponent will get control of both sizes, because they don't know you are going for the middle that hard and they cannot react that fast. So you will probably get at least one property from one of the sizes, and if you have at least the middle properties, that will compensate the fat. And maybe you are slightly behind on income, maybe not even that, because if you see your opponent is not pressuring in one of the sizes, you can go for those 1 extra more city. And also I want to mention the T-Copter. We will see both players playing a T-Copter. I have seen this replayer through before, and a T-Copter is very useful. I didn't use it in my sparring, but as you can see, it's a strong side against weak side. And if you can unbalance more that imbalance, in the sense that you can bring your one base weak side to reinforce your strong side with help of the T-Copter, that would be like 2.5 base against 2 if your opponent tries to match your strong side. But not only you will have more bases reinforcing that area, but your opponent will have a hard time to match you. So that's a very good idea of getting superiority. Because what happens usually in your weak side, if you are not playing optimally, is that you will end up with an excess of infantry that is sitting doing nothing, because at the end of the day, your weak side is, if you are facing a strong side, you are facing vehicles, and your infantry is not gonna do anything against those vehicles. But if these those, oh my god, the grammar, are with your strong army, they are gonna help to wall your vehicles, to kill the enemy infantry, to get lag rolls on 1 HP vehicles, etc, etc. And also I have talked with some of you guys on the chat, on Discord, and yeah, I know that sometimes it's hard to understand me because of my thick accent, so I will try to vocalize more and maybe talk a bit slower sometimes, but it's very hard to keep in mind all of these things while trying to provide good quality video. Well, it's hard to do. I'm trying my best, guys, so I hope I can manage it. So anyways, let's use a straight jump to the match. After that long introduction, we will see the match. I know some of you skip the introductions because I put the time stamp for some of you that don't want to wait too much to see the match. But some of you want to hear me give me my thoughts about the map. And I will give you a very quick summary of what I said in the introduction. But basically this is a very, I think I didn't say this actually. This is I think I said artillery strong map. And the reason for that is, even though it looks quite open, there is a lot of forests, and there is, even though the middle looks very open, there is mountains and landers to cover the flanks of those artillery. So you could expect your opponent to wheel at least 2 artilleries. I don't normally recommend using artilleries as a new player. The reason for that is that they are very hard to use, but if you have to use them somewhere, this is the map to use them. They are very very good on this map. And as you can see, I didn't mention this, but you're in the introduction, but you want to use your black boat to boost your infantry and contest these cities that are contested. And normally you don't want to go for the farthest one city, because that capture is not happening. And even if it happens, you are gonna get right away that city capture back. The reason for that is because it's just on the mouth of the two bases side. So that's, imagine you capture this infantry is gonna be alone, and then this infantry wants to keep capturing, but then you will have to defend this, and then you cannot do both with only one infantry, and that's very hard to do. So I would recommend, if you want to roost this, get the middle city first and then the other one, because the middle city, even if you're in your weak side, it's maybe somehow manageable to hold if your opponent doesn't commit super hard on this area. So there is more of a justification to get that one. And also the T-Copter opening, I have seen players liking a lot to use it to boost the com tower capture, but I don't like that a lot, because at the end of the day, capturing a com tower, it's useless unless you are fighting. But as you can see, there is still no fights happening, and if some happen, it's not gonna be relevant with the extra firepower. It's not gonna be a difference. And you could, instead of getting the T-Copter, get a recon earlier, and that recon can go to this side and get a vision of your opponent movements and see if he goes for an early artillery or not as early. And that's some useful intel, because if your opponent goes for an early artillery, he might threaten to rush the middle with the artillery, some infantry and vehicles, and he will assert domination over the middle. And as I said in the introduction, the middle is very important. So I already don't agree with Lance opening. Lance is the meaning of Andy player's name. He's a Chinese player, and according to Lightning Strike, his name means that, so I will trust him on that. And as you can see, Quacker Duck is also opening the T-Copter. Opening, well, yeah, opening. It's still around day 8, so it's still the opening game. But he's doing it later, and I kinda like it more. And the reason for that is that he's allowing the infantry to go somewhere else and then use a later infantry, and also get a tank earlier than his opponent. So he will have a tempo advantage, because at the end of the day, he will capture the second com tower just in time before the important fights start happening. Quacker Duck is able to kick out this infantry capture. As I said, it's not gonna happen. It was not gonna happen, but if he started to capture this, he would have had it, and then he could have gone for this one. And if he is not able to get this city with the infantry that was capturing this, he will have gotten with the other one from the com tower that was coming. So I think that's already a mistake by Andy, because on the other hand, Quacker Duck was not as greedy, and he is able to start capturing this one. Not this one, but he can try to do it, and maybe he's able to do, because his opponent delayed his tank and delayed his infantries. Some of the reason for that is the T-Copter, which, look, he already has the com tower, but what was the use of this com tower getting it so early? Not at all. And this T-Copter only costs 5k of funds and is not giving back any income, because getting any captures earlier. So I think it's a very bad use of a decopter. Also on this map there is a justification for mechs. I have explained on the introduction that you can synchronize your weak side and strong side, as I'm paraphrasing Raizo. He used this term that Math Blitz used, so we are paraphrasing the paraphraser. And basically what that means is that you can use half turn, one in alternative turns, your weak side base to bring infantry and mechs to your strong side, and that will be a 2.5 base against 1 base situation, which will win harder, even harder. And yes, you will have less infantry around your weak side, but at the end of the day, you don't want to win. Oh my god, sorry, excuse me. You don't want to have an excess of infantry in your weak side. You only want to have a token force, maybe a recon, maybe 2 infantries, and that's it. Because you want to control the middle. And this map has a similar problem as Stalingrad, which is basically you don't know exactly where your opponent is going, and that means that the strategy of death balling is stronger than usual, because if you don't know where your opponent is going, if you death ball in the sense of grouping up, you will be able to defeat whatever attacks your units, since you are all together, and then you can work from there with the intel you have gathered over the game. And as we can see, Quackardak gets a 2-hit KO on this property, which is very important to the 9, and he is already going for the middle control, but also he is taking advantage of the pure presence that Andy has over this side, which is Andy's strong side. So Andy should have not been, I mean, this capture is fine if you allow it. I didn't allow it in my sparring yesterday, but you cannot allow this capture. No, you should not. If your opponent rushes with the black boat, it's okay. Yeah, he rushed. But if your opponent took so long to arrive to this city, you should not be allowing this. But Andy has vision with this mountain, but that means that he won't be able to start this capture. So that means less income for him. And we will see that reflect on his income on the next turns. He will be behind. And Andy, instead of attacking this infantry, he opts to attack the artillery, which I don't think I agree with, because now this artillery can simply move one tile behind, and these 2 infantries will get a 2-hit KO, and you just lost 1 infantry for 1 HP of an artillery, and that's not worth, because not only it's bad value, but Andy hates losing units. He wants to get in your units and then get value from them. And as you can see right now, Andy is tank chaining into the middle. I'm trying to pronounce correctly, guys, so you understand what the hell I'm saying because of my thick accent. And I think I agree with this chain, but I think it arrived 1 turn later that I would have liked. This artillery staying here, it's quite ballsy, but it allows this infantry to die. The problem is that this recon will be in range, so unless you kill this and then sit on the city, you will not be able to cover this artillery from this recon attack. And if a recon sacks itself for shooting at an artillery, it's completely worth. Doesn't matter if it dies. You are simply it's like in chess, you are giving away 1 knight for a bishop, but the difference is in some situations the knights on chess are more valuable than bishops, well, I'm not talking about chess. The thing I am saying is basically you can replace recon very fast on this map, but artillery is not as fast to replace. So an artillery has more value to it, even though it only costs 6k. It has a value on tempo, and I don't like this at all, because this infantry, I mean, it has nowhere to go. But why do you go here instead of going in this tile, so you don't get 2-hit KO because there is no infantry in place to go into this mountain? Well, yes, this one, but you are supposed to kill it. So if you place it here, you're covering your tank flank. And yeah, I think it's very important to kill Andy units. You are forced to do it. If you don't do it, you will just you are just giving half of that unit away to Andy, and that's a big deal. Because if it's just a tank, it's okay, but it adds up, you know, guys. So you better make sure of that to kill Andy's units, because it's basically what's Andy about. Getting his units to not die and then get a valuable superpower that will get things done. And as you can see here, Andy gets a double luck roll onto the tank, which is quite lucky in my opinion, but he had one extra infantry if he's not lucky enough, and that extra infantry would have averaged the luck roll in favor for Andy, and this infantry is now free to shoot at something else, and I could do it because I'm Andy. I want to weaken my units, yeah. And I think right now the situation, it looks very good for Andy, but the problem is that Andy has not as many vehicles coming into the meat as Quacker Dog, but Quacker Dog is gonna be a bit slower on that. And Quacker Dog should have not allowed this hit to be taken, because that completely denies the pressure of that artillery presence. And he places these two units on the lander, and you would wonder what the hell is going on. If you place a unit inside of a transport that is sitting on a city or an HQ, that unit inside the transport will get healed. Since there is two units, both units will get healed, and that's quite useful. But I don't agree with it for one reason: you have these two cities in range of these two weakened units, and if you put them in the transport instead of the cities, that means that you will take one more turn to use it whenever you want. And if you put it on a city, they will both get Reaper, but you will be able to use it right away. So I think that's a slight mistake by Drake, which he only wanted to be fancy. And yeah, it's like being fancy over efficient sometimes. It is what it is. And I think you pay for those repairs. So we will. I was gonna say remind me to check if Drake is paying for these repairs, but I will have to remind myself. Anyways. Let's see what Andy does, because he has lost some units. He has an overabundance of units around this area, which is making a use of some of them at least, because he was able to get two properties here. But his opponent is getting 3 properties here, and he already has 1 here. And Andy was not able to get 2 middle properties, so that's gonna be 2k difference on income, and that's a problem, because you don't want to be behind on income, not against Drake, because Drake is gonna snap his fingers and make 20% of your army go away. Yes, you are Andy, but that still will be relevant, because Drake will have an easier time to get the hit KOs, and also will force Andy, no matter what, to pay for the repairs. Anyways, let me check if Drake pays for these repairs here, because if he doesn't, then that's a huge argument in favor of putting the units inside of HQ. Well, inside of a transport sitting on a property. Let's see. He has 0 fans, 19,000 income. And yeah, he paid for the repairs, because the only repair apart from these 2 vehicles here was this infantry. So he should have had 18,800 if these repairs were not liable for cost. Anyways, so we have knowledge of that mechanic now, and let's see what are the moves for Drake this turn. He doesn't attack, he is preparing for a push into the middle area. He recognizes that right now Andy has the control over this area, but he doesn't need to worry too much about it, because he has the income advantage, so he can stall this situation forever as long as Andy doesn't get these properties. He's gonna try to capture them next turn right now, but as Drake is setting up for a push, he will be able to contest those captures next day. But anyways, Andy is trying to capture this city right here, which is quite risky in my opinion. But the thing with it is that you are Andy, and if you try a capture before your superpower from happening, it's gonna be very good for you, since you need to get lower that infantry below 5 HP if your opponent wants to interrupt it. And he's gonna get 3 properties. He gets the anti-air trap into the forest, quite a bold move by the anti-air to go and try to get into a forest. In my opinion, he should have tried to get the vision first with the infantry unloading, and then you move your important units. But anyways, Andy goes for the medium tank, which I think it's a good idea, but I think you should be building copters. Not only because building copters increase your unit count, since you are using 4 producing buildings instead of 3, but also because Andy loves copter-to-copter combat, and copter-to-copter combat against Drake is even better. The reason because Andy loves copter-to-combat combat is because it's a lot of fans, and that's a lot of charge. And also your copter will get repair after getting even shoot by a copter. So you will win a copter-to-copter combat against any CEO on tier 3, unless you are facing Kindle and you place your copter adjacent to a city, which might be a mistake, might be forced because you had to hit something. But anyways, let's see if Drake is able to interrupt these captures. He gets vision with the 2 HP unit, very useful. He attacks here, but is not able to drop any of these infantries below 5 HP, which can be a huge problem. The tank on the lander is still at 5 HP, remember. And if Andy right now uses the superpower, he's gonna get 3 properties, and one of them belongs to Drake, so that's gonna be 4k of swing in favor for Andy. That's I'm not gonna say a huge deal, but that's important. The problem is that if he does that, he will be using his superpower before Drake, and that means he will sit with weakened units until his next turn, where he uses a superpower again, and that's very bad for Andy. And the reason for that is because Andy is already an average CO with no day-to-day abilities, and being average on advanced words via web is bad because all COs have day-to-days that strengths themselves. And if you are below average, because you will be an average CO with 8 HP units, you are in a rough spot, because being below average is very bad. Imagine you are grid, but you are using direct units. So that's the point where Andy is gonna be until his next superpower, because he will have a tank with 8 HP. And that not only means that he will have less firepower to work with, but it also means that he has to be very careful with his tanks, because they will be very easy to kill compared to being full HP. Because global damage not only reduces the maximum health, but also reduces the defense. Imagine you are sitting on a city with a tank. If you get minus 2 HP, you are losing 6% of defense, and 6% of defense is quite a lot if you think about it, because 6% is more than half of what Bomball gets on his day-to-day, and his day-to-day allows him to be a tier 1 CO, only his day-to-day, because his power is terrible. So imagine how important is global damage on top of doing damage. So Drake doesn't doubt about using his Typhoon. It's the perfect scenario for him to use it, because now he is not worried about Andy repairing back this global damage. The problem that Drake is having right now is that his artillery is dying because he was not able to cover it very nicely, and I think it was a big mistake. But he's not able to get too many hit KOs. He was able to get 3 here, if I remember correctly, but it was not a deathly push. It was quite bad, because look at Andy's value right now. It's 64,000. But remember, Andy is gonna use those 35 funds safe, because the turn he used the superpower, he knew he was gonna get hit by a Typhoon, and the main reason he wanted to use it is because of the 3 capture properties. But now he saved money to get a lot of value. But the problem with that is that that money will actually come into play for the match 1 turn later, and that can be the difference between winning and losing. Let's see if this Neo for 1 turn will get later into the field. The T-Copter gets killed. Also, notice that for some reason Andy decided to delete the black boat. Let me check. Well, doesn't matter when he did it, but he's probably thinking about sitting on the HQ with a unit. Drake instead is opting to put units inside of the lander to safely heal them, which I think is fine. But if you are fighting over that area, can be bad, because you don't have that much space to unload them, and maybe you want to use that space to attack other units. Anyways, Andy is repairing a lot of tanks. What is he doing? Why is he repairing? I mean, he has to refuel this tank, okay, but this tank still has a lot of fuel on it, and you don't want to repair. You don't want to repair this. I can understand why you want to repair the medium tank. It's because you want to use it next turn, so you have some units to work with until your superpower. But still, this is a lot of value lost for Andy, and Andy doesn't like to pay for repairs. Andy opts this turn to go for the triple tank wheel. Still, we didn't see any copters, and I don't think we will see them. Remember, both of these players are Chinese. Also, we have seen Andy Lance, that's how he's called, play on the last video review on the channel, and he only will, I think, 1 or 2 copters as max. So as Andy, he might think that they are not even good, maybe. I don't know. I really like copters, and Quackerduck is also a Chinese player, and as Drake, if you already don't like copters, I don't think you are gonna will them. But I think they don't respect the strengths that copters provide, and I think I can expect my opponent Quackerduck not building as many copters, so I'm gonna exploit that and swarm him with unit count superiority in the match that we are gonna have. If you skip the intro, I want to let you know that one of the reasons because I'm reviewing this match is because I'm gonna face Quackerduck in this exact same map. Anyways, Quackerduck is pressuring the middle because Andy has to retreat right now, since he has weakened tanks and also inferiority in numbers. So Drake is capitalizing on that advantage. He's getting the safest cities, and I don't remember exactly what was on this lander. I think it was an infantry and an artillery. I could have honestly placed the artillery, even if it's a bit weak, here to cover this capture, because it's probably at 5 HP or something, and a 5 HP artillery is capable of doing a lot of. And as you can see, this weak side base is able to reinforce very quickly the middle with the helicopter, and that's what I meant with synergizing your strong side and weak side bases. Anyways, Quackerduck is keeping up the medium tank chains, but now he has changed the place where he is wielding the medium tank. Maybe he's planning to fight over this area, and this area is probably closer to this base than this base, and he can always use the transport copter to boost this infantry into this area. So having the transport copter allows you to have much more maneuver options, which is very useful in such a big map, because yes, the fronts are not that big, but the map itself is quite big. Not as big as it seems, because you get tricked by the corners, but still is quite big. And using the Neo tank to wall break and get a hit at the artillery, although I don't think it's a very good idea, and the reason for that is basically you are facing 5 tanks against 4 of yours, and yes, you get a shoot at the weakened artillery, but this artillery is not as valuable as your whole army. And I think also Drake is coming back with the income advantage. He's pressuring more captures, and he's gonna try to kill as many units before Andy superpower comes into place. That's why he didn't want to attack into this Neo tank, even though he can place an artillery here and then attack with the Neo tank. with the medium tank to the neo tank, it's not gonna be very valuable since Andy can use pop the superpower. You don't want to attack to Andy if you are not killing units. Maybe you have a justification to do it if the superpower is very away, very far from happening for tempo reasons, but if it's about to happen, you don't want to do it. It doesn't seem like Andy is gonna use the superpower, and the reason for that, he doesn't use the superpower before Drake's superpower. He doesn't want to commit the same mistake again, but as you can see, Andy is not in a good position. He is quite behind on unit count even after his turn, and if you are behind on unit count after your turn, you are quite behind on unit count. It is true, guys, that he has the lead, the lander here, and he has lost the black boat, but even with 2 more units, he would have been behind on unit count. And now comes Typhoon, and it's gonna be devastating. Yep, that might be a very lucky roll, but at the end of the day, if you get the kill on a neo tank just before Andy's superpower, it's such a big deal that you are starting to consider, whoa, I got scared, the resign. But yeah, also one thing you have to keep in mind as Drake, whenever you pop your superpower that makes rain happening, is that Drake is immune to the penalties of movement that rain brings, which is only ground, plus 1 movement cost through plains and through forests for all types of vehicles, but not foot soldiers, and also -1 vision, and Drake is not immune to that one -vision, so you normally want to move your recon, get vision, use that intel, prepare your attack, and then do it. Because -1 vision means that your infantry is completely blind, they have only 1 range of vision, and one range of vision is hardly ever useful to get to support other units to attack, and that's a big deal. And Andy just resigns, and the reason for that is because he lost the neo tank. He's falling very far behind on unit count. He's not gonna be able to interrupt this capture. This capture has been joint cap, so it's now a city sitting on 6 HP, so he will need to reduce this infantry to below 4 HP, and that will that is not possible with these 2. Well, yes, it is possible with these 2 infantry because he will be able to use the superpower, but still he won't be able to kill it. No, yes, he will be able, because he will have 40 firepower instead of 30 because he has 2 com towers. But still, it's a very bad situation to be, because you are getting overwhelmed on the middle, and you are gonna get you are gonna lose control of the properties in the middle. You're gonna get this property, but this infantry is gonna die next turn because you don't have any backup for it. These tanks doesn't have too many targets. You can use the superpower and attack them, but look, what are you gonna do against these 2 medium tanks? And he doesn't know yet, but there is more coming. So yeah, I think it's quite a doom situation to be on. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about these both players' moves, and if you have any suggestions or any replays you want me to comment on, let me know on the comments or in the Discord, on a private message, and also let me know if I did any better with my thick accent on this video to make you easier to understand. Thank you everyone for watching, and cheers.